Pixel 7s, 7 and 7 Pro. I've been using these phones for about a week now, and yes, they are very similar to last year. They're the same prices too, but more than ever this year, and you can see it at every corner, the Pixel Special is software solutions to hardware problems. And this is in contrast to, say, the Samsung or the Xiaomi Special, which is throw as much raw hardware horsepower at the thing as possible. There's just no way that isn't better than before. And there's nothing right or wrong with either of these approaches. Matter of fact, as a tech head, you can kind of appreciate both. But there is just a little bit of a magic to this software way, at least when it works. So yeah, I can definitely appreciate the slightly updated hardware on the outside of the Pixel, because even though it isn't super important to the Google mission, it's still important to the users. So initially, with my very first hands-on, I didn't love it, but it's kind of growing on me. The main change here being the metal camera bar instead of the all-glass visor from last year. It lets them do some interesting stuff with the colors, but most importantly, lets them make it all one piece of metal all the way around with the frame of the rest of the phone. It's polished aluminum on the Pro and matte aluminum on the Pixel 7. Then both phones also get brighter displays, up to 1500 nits peak on the 7 Pro and 1400 nits on the regular Pixel 7. Can't fake that with software. And then the 7 Pro display is larger, slightly curved over the edges, and a generally better looking display with less off-axis rainbowing, but interestingly, it's set to 1080p out the box by default, even though it's a 1440p panel. I immediately switched that to 1440 and have had no battery issues, so I recommend doing that. Matter of fact, might as well just say it right off the top, I have had great battery experiences with these phones. I've been mostly dailying the 7 Pro, David at the studio has been dailying the 7, and yeah, they've been excellent. Like just this morning, today, drove into the studio, had an hour-long commute with Waze on, full brightness, GPS, streaming Spotify audio through Bluetooth to the car, got here with like 85% battery left. And I'm consistently ending days with 30 to 40%. 6 to 7 hours is not a problem. Yeah, I've had very good battery life on these phones. Very impressive. That's a combination of software optimization, better modems, just better chip overall. But speaking of chips, inside the phone there are very few new specs, but the new second generation Tensor G2 from Google is one of them. There's also a little bit extra RAM on the Pro phone. It does benchmark a bit higher than the first Tensor, but in terms of raw power, it's right in line with the Snapdragon 865. Fine. But just like I talked about in the problem with benchmarks video, which you can watch here if you haven't seen it already, Google is optimizing this Tensor G2 chip to work more efficiently, specifically with its AI stuff, its AI magic. So while, yeah, the G2 is a little faster than the first Tensor with its smaller 4nm process node, the real improvements are in its machine learning capabilities, which are 60% faster and 20% more efficient than last year. So the things that actually require those AI smarts are dramatically better and faster. So that is where it starts to get interesting. Not to dismiss the, slight improvements of the Pixel overall. I mean, you can see they painted inside the port and the speakers down here to match the rails of the phone. It's nice. I like it. But that's not what the Pixel is all about. The Pixel is the software. It is the smartest smartphone, and pretty much all of the reasons you'd pick a phone like a Pixel 7 over the rest are in the software. Like for phone calls, for example, Pixel is the only phone with call screening, which to me is still super useful, but it also goes to another level. So when you call a business that has an automated system, the improved Direct My Call feature will surface all the buttons at once, so you can press to navigate through an automated system before the robot even finishes saying them. It saves me so much time. I love that. I also like the new home screen search, which still has all the great functionality as before. It's just cleaner and better designed. And then with the new selfie camera, the Pixel has added AI-based face unlock, which is great. But as you can see, it's just a single selfie camera up top here. There's no infrared, depth mapping, or Face ID equivalent. So while it's super fast in great conditions, it absolutely struggles as expected when you're in the dark or when you have a mask on. So there's also still an under-display fingerprint reader for dual biometric authentication anytime Face Unlock fails. I will say I was hoping that the fingerprint reader would be one of the things that improved to the Pixel 7 hardware-wise, because the one in the 6 was a little bit of a letdown for me. It's not noticeably bigger or faster. It's fine. It's not terrible. It's just a slight step behind the ultrasonic ones, which are noticeably faster than this optical one. Oh, also, the Recorder app, some people don't even care about this, but the Recorder app is better. It's already the best in the world at doing incredibly fast and accurate speech to text. You've seen this before. Thanks, Tensor. But I got an amazing demo of somebody starting a recording and then putting the phone in their pocket, and we had a full-on conversation. They took the phone out of their pocket, and it had perfectly transcribed our entire conversation with speaker labels. So each time the opposite person spoke, it labeled that. Incredibly useful or incredibly creepy, depending on who you are, but that's one of the features that's allegedly coming later this year to an update. I'm going to be using that. And it just definitely feels like anywhere you go in this phone, Google Assistant is waiting right around the corner, waiting to help you out. It was the same with the last Pixel. Android 13 got its improvements with Material You and the under-the-hood improvements, but just the Google stuff everywhere, the routines, the little reminders, the little chip cards and messages for helpful things you might want to do to add to a message. There's a lot of good stuff. There's even a new feature, Unblur. You might have seen the demos. Basically